Everybody, this is Hondo Carpenter, your Las Vegas Raiders beat writer on SI and the host of the Las Vegas Raiders Insider Podcast. It's great to be with you. Happy Sunday. We're excited to be with you, and you know what this means. If it's Sunday, I'm joined by one of my favorite guys in all the world, one of my very best friends. He has joined me for many, many, many years. He is a terrific and prolific writer at Men's Journal, the one and only, the great Matt Haladik. Matt, how are you?
I'm doing well, Hondo. Always a pleasure to be on starting Sunday with you.
It's great to have you on Sunday. I can't believe we are just a few weeks away from no more Sundays without football. Matt, I got a lot I want to talk to you about today, NFL wise. We're going to start and just put the hammer to the nail. There is a ton of anticipation in Raider Nation right now. And I can tell you, if there is one constant over the many years I've covered this team, it's been inconsistency. And I'm not one, you've known me a long time. I'm not really moved by feelings. I'm not a feelings guy. But it is undeniable. This one feels different. From Mark Davis to Tom Brady to John Spytek to Pete Carroll, everything seems to be aligned above the players. And then you go to the players, they seem to all be in alignment. You've got a solid quarterback, not claiming he's a top five, but you've got a solid quarterback. You've got great coaching staff. You got plenty of good players. It feels different. Now, maybe it feels different because I'm in the forest. And so I'm coming to you as a guy outside the forest who looks at the NFL from a macro perspective. Does it feel different to you? What are your thoughts?
Well, I do think, as I said, the process wise seems a lot better this time around. I think when you have people that have been winners at this level, like a John Spytek and a Pete Carroll, and obviously Tom Brady in his role as part owner and advising over the top, what he's doing. Um, And I think when you have, an established quarterback now like a Geno Smith, who I think is probably, he's not top five, but he's top 10 to 12, I think, in the league. So I think you have a guy who's in the upper crust of the league, so to speak, upper half at least, for sure, which is a nice change of pace, should help their offense. I think that there are feelings of, you definitely get some of that optimism, cautious optimism for sure, but I think people are actually looking like this could be sustainable. This could be something that works, as opposed to, a quick fix or something that seems like the sexy hire or the sexy move, but might not have all the substance behind it. So I think that this does have from an outside perception, to me, it seems like this is something that could be, more successful in the long haul than previous attempts were.
It's funny for me because you know this, for a long time the Raiders were kind of seen as the team that would go for the flashy,
Hmm.
uh, you know, oh, this is they would overpay for big name veterans maybe at the downside of their career, or maybe overpay guys who'd been with them a long time. You can't blame an owner for loyalty. That's so rare in pro sports. But they go for Josh McDaniels, who was the hottest coaching prospect at the time. I mean, that's just the reality of the situation. He was. And I've never questioned their motive, but you certainly could question process. And that just has not been the case this year. And I'm going to ask you, we're talking on the same issue, but to me, there's a big thing missing here. And that's this. I don't think Mark Davis is getting enough credit. And the fact was, he wasn't groomed by his dad on how to take over the team like Stephen Jones is. And he's had to learn on the job. And the fact that he continues, he's willing, he's proven, I'll put any amount of money into it. I'll do whatever I got to do. I just want a winner. For him to have gotten them here, considering where he started, where he walked in day one and really didn't know what he was up, what the process was going to be. I think he deserves more credit than he's getting. Is that fair?
I think that you have seen him evolve a little bit as an owner, which is a good thing. And I do think the number one prerequisite of a strong owner. It doesn't mean this is you're going to be good if you have this, but this is, I think, one of a thing that all good owners do have is an investment in the team on a personal level where they want to succeed, they want to win. And that's what comes first and foremost, where they'll spend the any amount of money they need to do to make that happen, and he will certainly do that. I think the quickest way, again, obviously, to really get some of that respect is if this starts to work and they start winning some games and they look like a more competitive, more steady, competent organization. I think you're going to see some of that come in. But I think for now, he probably isn't getting looked at, the way that you're saying, because people are probably kind of lumping it all in with the start of his tenure and even the end of his dad's tenure where the Raiders start to go downhill. But I do think the room is there with some of the strides he's made, some of the hires he's made too, for things to really take off and for him to kind of get more props around the league, so to speak.
Right. Interesting story I came across this week, and it was actually sent to me about Arch Manning really looking at Josh Allen and Joe Burrow as he develops his game. Now, there's no denying, rightfully or wrongly, there hasn't been this much anticipation for a quarterback who still was in college to get to the pros since Trevor Lawrence. I think that's pretty fair. Maybe you would disagree. I think that, but it's anticipatory. And when you look at that, a Manning looking at Joe Burrow and Josh Allen tells you Arch is not, Archie, Peyton, or Eli's mini-me.
No, for sure. I think it shows that he's, looking at the modern game, and those are two guys who came in. Joe Burrow was the number one overall pick. Josh Allen was a top 10 pick. And they came in and they've had success almost from the start. And I think that Josh Allen's interesting because Arch brings that component of being a dual threat, which neither of his uncles had. His dad, his grandfather did back in the 70s with the Saints. He could scramble and he could make plays with his feet, but Peyton and Eli were not runners. But Arch is. So I think that's where you see a guy like a Josh Allen where he might try to emulate that. And then Joe Burrow, obviously, the success he had in college, winning a national championship and then getting drafted number one overall, going to a Super Bowl. I think those are two pretty good guys to look up to. I'm thinking on your comment, I don't know if there's been a more anticipated prospect. Obviously, I think they're maybe the most hyped guy in college still might be Andrew Luck for his last year at Stanford, because when he came back and coming into the NFL, the hype he had. But we'd already seen him start and seen him do a lot of things and knew how good he was. Arch, we've only seen glimpses. We saw him in certain packages for Texas. He started a couple games last year when Quinn Ewers was hurt. There were a lot of calls to play him, but they stuck by Quinn Ewers. So, we believe he's going to be really good, and we have every reason to think he has the tools to be awesome, but we haven't seen it yet. So I think this anticipation is unlike something we've seen in a while at the college level.
It's fascinating to me. I want to go in a different direction here because I think it's very interesting. I was talking to some people over the last not the last couple, but in the last 4 or 5 days, not the last 1 or 2. And I was talking to them about the expansion to 18 games and all of it. And they said, obviously it's going to happen. Everyone knows that. But they are anticipating a major war coming with the NFL and the NFLPA. Now, there's a 10-year deal, I think, that goes through 2030. Mm-hmm. And so they weren't sure that the fight's coming before 2030. It could, but it's coming. It's on the horizon. And that's the expansion of the roster in the salary cap if they're going to keep adding games. Now, it was a very fascinating conversation. One person suggested just have the whole 53-man roster able to dress on game day. That was a suggestion I thought was a legitimate one. Another was get make the practice squad part of the roster. Expand the roster to 70 players. I don't think the NFL is going to go for that, but that's a thought process. Another was expand it to 60. However that goes is not you and I's case. My question to you is there's the sounds of war. Remember Churchill before when he was kind of thrown out, but before World War II when he talked about the sounds of war. There's sounds of a growing war coming. What are your thoughts on this? Because because it's only 2025 and it's 5 years away, I don't think the average fan is thinking this. But I was told, and I'm gonna read you because I wrote it down. I think, and this is somebody in the NFL, there is a colossal war coming, a dispensational shift, big change. I don't think people outside the league realize it, and inside it, I don't think a lot want to think about it. That's a big deal.
Sure, and I think when you look around what's been going on the last few years, obviously the talk about it expanding to 18 after they already expanded to 17, everyone pretty much knows that 18 is coming. Also, expanding the international games, teams are traveling more, or you have 7, 8 games or so internationally this year, and now they're talking about is there a future where there's almost a game every week internationally? So that's a strain on players and on teams. Also, different days of the week now. You're seeing games being played on Tuesdays or Wednesdays with Christmas or certain holidays, and that's we saw some teams talk about that last year, how that changed up their schedule. So I think when you see these types of concessions being made with the schedule and all these different expansions, I think the players are going to say, wait a minute, we want something in exchange for this. Whether it's increased salary cap so salaries can be bumped up across the board, whether it's the rosters get expanded so guys can make a little bit more money that way, and there's also added protections in terms of if people get hurt, there's increased depth. I think there is going to be some type of the owners in the league are going to have to make some type of concessions, I think, to get everything passed and everything copacetic, because they're asking for a lot of change or a lot of expansion, a lot of growth, but the players are going to want a piece of that pie as well, and some type of things on their side.
Matt, one of the things that both parties agree on right now, both players and non-players, is that the rules of training camp and engagement have kept the team significantly more healthier, but they've also significantly hurt the game. So let me give you a couple of examples. And this is from players and non-players alike, but having conversations, again, not in the last 2 days, but prior to that. And, you're seeing guys who don't really hit in training camp anymore. Or, for example, quarterbacks never get hit unless it's a preseason game, whereas even a third string guy would have gotten hit a little bit. But you're seeing a lot because teams don't want contact in practice, or very minimal. A lot of guys not going full 100. So then you get into the season, and teams have to have a few weeks to find their sea legs. I'm okay with that. So don't hear this as a complaint from me. I think others are okay with it because it's keeping players healthy for the regular season. But here is my caveat. Do you feel there needs to be a tweaking here? Because it used to be there were 3 training camp practices a day, which is stupid. I'm not advocating for that. Now, there's not even really 1 a day because players are getting a bunch of days off, and it's a lot less. Do you like it where it's at? And I'm going to be honest. I think I can make an argument I like it where it's at, even though I do think it hurts the game early. I like it where it's at. So I'm not advocating for more. But the parties that I talk to, again, both sides are like, I think sometimes fans expect the game to be really good earlier in the year, and it's not, and it's got to find its sea legs. What do you think about this? Because I think it's fascinating.
I think that you do notice a difference in quality of play after the first couple of weeks are done. Things pick up. You'll see, quarterback play gets sharper, tackling gets a little bit better, at least just from the eye test standpoint. Operationally, teams look much crisper after the first couple of games. And I think that that is a result of the different preseason schedules. Um, I think that they do lend to teams needing some time to find themselves in the early going of the regular season. Um, I also think you see it as partially one of the reasons for a difference in offensive line play and maybe the decline in offensive line play in a lot of cases because guys aren't playing. You don't get as much time to work together in the off season. You don't get as much time with pads on, being physical and going through the fundamentals of line play that way. Having said that, I don't think it's going back. So I think that
Agree.
this is the way that it is, and I think as fans and as writers and as anybody that enjoys football or takes it in, you have to kind of make peace with it or understand that the first couple of weeks of the season are not going to be the prettiest. Obviously, if you hope that if that's the I think that when you go into the season there, you think if you're a fan of a team that's supposed to be a contender, you're hoping that you come out and look sharp enough where you can survive those first couple of weeks and you don't suffer a bad loss. But I also think if you're a team fan of a team that's not looked at as a contender, it's looked at as one of the weaker teams or a middle of the pack team, you're hoping you could steal a game or two maybe at that point because nobody's really firing on all cylinders. But listen, I've said this to you before. I think even if they tweak the preseason again, it's not going back to the way it was. You're just not going to see teams play their starters at all, really, in the preseason. I mean, because here's the thing: if you're the Chiefs, what do you gain about putting Patrick Mahomes out there at all in the preseason? Nothing.
Nothing.
Or even that's the top example. But if you're the Washington Commanders, why would you play Jaden Daniels this preseason? You're not going to do it. Now, listen, if you are the Titans, yeah, Cam Ward is going to get some reps because he's a rookie. He's going to be starting from day one. You need him to play. The Giants are going to play Jackson Dart. Shador Sanders is going to play some for the Browns. The rookies are going to get time. But anybody that's an established veteran, unless they really want to get a couple of series in or it's their choice or they're really pushing for it, they're just not going to play. And I think that that's something we have to kind of get used to.
Two more questions. I'm going to let you go, but I was talking to people last week about the NFL and what's going on and about the 18 game. They all said to me they think it's going to go to two preseason games, maybe one. And but one of the people, a significant NFL person, and I'm going to share with you privately who I was talking to, but one of the people said something that blew my mind. He said, "We are approaching in the NFL where every game doesn't count as much as others." He said, and I'm concerned, this is an NFL person, I'm concerned we're going to do what happened to baseball, basketball, and hockey. And I asked him for an example. He said pretty much every NFL stadium is packed every game because there's so few and everyone matters so much. And he goes, we're getting to a place now. We keep adding so many games. Yeah, it does. This one doesn't matter. Or yeah, you lose one early, or you sit a guy to rest an extra week, whereas you would have played him before because each game. And he said to me, he goes, Hondo, this may be good, it may be bad, I don't know, but there's the rule of unintended consequences. And he said, I'm concerned because we're going to a new level. I thought that was fascinating, but love your thoughts.
It's interesting. I think if that happened, it would all be about the organization and where they are as a team. Perhaps if if you're a team like the Eagles or the Chiefs or the Bills, Ravens that are upper echelon, and you get off to a good start, you win your first 4 or 5 games maybe, or you're 5-1, and a guy's injured, you may hold him out an extra week. They may do that now, but especially with an extra game, you may say, okay, we can afford to be a little more on the side of caution. I don't think we're going to see load management to the degree that you see it in the NBA or MLB because there's just still so few games. I mean, even with 18 games in the NFL, the NBA has 4.5 times that in the regular season. Baseball has almost 10 times that in the regular season. So I think that you even with the more physical nature of football, you're not worried about getting all the types of load management that you see in other sports. But I do think it'll be interesting to see if it alters the way teams approach, how they go about their rosters.
And last one. So again, not the last couple days, but earlier in the week, we are with a friend of ours, an NFL person, and we were just talking about rookies. And now remember, he is not a Raider person. I want to make that clear. He does not work for the Raiders. He said to me, he goes, I think Ashton Ginty's going to be the rookie of the year. And I'm like, what? He goes, oh, yeah. He goes, Pete's going to run the football. And he goes, he's going to carry the rock. And he goes, and that offensive line is not as bad as the way people dump on it. And he goes, Hondo, I'm telling you right now, I think, and he called him AJ, Ashton Ginty. He goes, I think he's going to be rookie of the year. That blew my mind. It was not a Raider. I thought, I'm asking Matt about that on Sunday. What do you think of that?
I think it'll be a popular bet. I think when you look around, because he is going to be a guy who is drafted into a situation where he's going to get touches and be a focal point of the offense right away. I think when you look at the quarterbacks, I mean, yeah, Cam Ward is going to be regarded as a potential rookie of the year guy, especially starting from the outset.
He's not on a good team. He's
not on a great team, like you said.
Yeah.
And I don't think I like Cam Ward, but I don't think he's going to have the impact that a Jaden Daniels did as a rookie.
Jaden, to Cam's credit, Jaden went to a good team that didn't have a quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
Cam went to a bad team that doesn't have a whole lot of anything.
No, it's true. And if you look at the other rookie quarterbacks, there's going to be guys that play, but I don't think there's going to be guys that start from day one, maybe, where they're in a position to be in the running for Rookie of the Year. I think Ashton Ginty is going to be one of the favorite bets for an Offensive Rookie of the Year. I think that there's no reason why he shouldn't put up some big numbers. I mean, we're talking about a guy who, as a rookie running back, is coming in with the most hype and most acclaim since Saquon Barkley in 2018, who was Offensive Rookie of the Year that year. So I think that the possibility of him putting up some big numbers and winning that award is definitely, it's not out of the realm at all. I think he's probably the favorite to me.
And as a Giant, you got to be excited about your boy Jackson Dart.
He does. I mean, the thing with Jackson Dart is when you're not expecting the Giants to have a great season, but he does give you that added buzz where you're like, okay, we'll see what this kid has. I think the Giants will obviously be getting into previews and stuff like that later in the summer, but I think their best bet is to maybe stay competitive for a little bit with Russell Wilson, and then when the season starts to slip away, you throw in Jackson Dart, and hopefully he shows you some things.
All right. So next week, Matt and I are going to begin previewing all of the different divisions. So next week, we'll start. Matt, let's just go NFC East. Obviously, we'll have some Raider talk, but we're going to also talk NFC East. We're going to go through all the divisions, and I'm excited about it. I hope that sounds good to you.
Can't wait.
Remember, everybody, you can find me on Twitter at Hondo Carpenter, on IG and Threads at Hondo SR, and always at si.com/NFL/Raiders for your very best Raider content. Matt, would you tell them where to find you on social media, please?
Sure, you can find me on X, Twitter at MattHladik919, at MattHladik919. And you can find most of my my writings over at Men's Journal. So come chat and say hello.
Check it out, everybody. We'll see you again tomorrow.